first Persian manuscript came into the library in 1602, just after Sir Thomas Bodley had renewed the university library. It was brought by an ambassador to Russia. This manuscript is a history of Gilan province, which is a very fertile province in the northwest of Iran. Over the next 400 years, at least 26 substantial named collections of Oriental manuscripts, including Persian manuscripts, were added to the collections, as well as single donations. As we stand now, there are about 2,800 works in Persian, which is slightly larger than the 2,500 of Arabic we have. The Persian manuscripts at the Bodleian cover a large variety of subjects, but particularly strong on history and Persian poetry. One of the highlights of the collections is the illustrated Persian manuscripts, as well as the miniature paintings. Many manuscripts have wonderful headings in gold and lapis and beautiful script, as well as illuminated borders and shamsas, which are little sunbursts. The first major donation of Persian manuscripts came in the late 1630s with the collections of Archbishop Laud, who was Archbishop of Canterbury and Chancellor of the University of Oxford. And they included 5 copies of Sa'di's Gulistan, a moral work in prose with poetry. It perhaps contains the first miniature painting which came into the library, a scene of outdoor cooking and merriment and dancing. And it contains the Archbishop's signature. The first manuscript of high artistic merit to come into the library was in the 1680s with the collections of John Greaves, who was astronomer and geometer. This fine copy of Jami's Yusuf Zulaykha, a story about the biblical prophet Joseph, which has a lacquer binding, hence the gloves. It's a beautiful lacquer binding with flora and fauna, all sorts of animals, birds and fish even, in a pool. It's beautifully illuminated. This particular illumination shows Joseph with his fiery halo coming out to serve the women of Egypt. As well as being a collector of high book art, John Greaves also collected more practical works to help him with his studies into astronomy and geometry. Here we have a copy of the star tables of Ulugh Beg, who was a highborn prince in Samarkand in the 15th century. Greaves worked on this book and translated it into Latin, and here we see some of the latitudes and longitudes of famous cities which he translated. In 1714, 7 boxes of Oriental books came over from Ireland. They were the bequest of Narcissus Marsh, who was one time Archbishop of the Church of Ireland in Armagh. Marsh had sent someone over to Leiden in the Netherlands to an auction where they bought 2/3 of the auction manuscripts, including this copy of Sa'di's Bustan, which is mentioned in the auction catalogue here. The largest collection of Persian manuscripts coming to the library consists of several hundred items, and they were collected on travels to India and Persia by Sir Gore and Sir William Ouseley, brothers who formed part of a diplomatic mission to Tehran. Their manuscripts came into the library in the 19th century, and they're considered the pride of the collections, with many of them illuminated and illustrated with miniature paintings. This is an Ouseley manuscript, and it's the poetical works of 3 poets. What's remarkable about this manuscript is that it's signed by Mir Ali, one of the masters of Nasta'alik, which is the Persian style of cursive script. This is also an Ouseley manuscript. It's a work about Sufi saints, and 73 saints are represented, each with their own miniature painting describing an event in their lives. The library is still collecting, and in 2015 we were fortunate enough to receive the donation of the collections of Simon Digby, an Oriental scholar, lover of India, and was keeper of Eastern art at the Ashmolean at one point. He collected Persian manuscripts, but with an Indian provenance. Here we have a nice Timur-Name, so a biography of Tamburlaine, the great conqueror of Central Asia and Iran and Iraq. And this image shows Tamburlaine entering some fortress on one of his campaigns. To receive such a collection of 260 manuscripts, which is a substantial number by any means, is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a curator like myself. I'm very honoured to be able to curate it and pass it on to the next generation.